The title is When in Rome. It's a pun on the phrase "When in Rome, do as the Romans." So the Rome is spelled differently. It's spelled R-O-A-M, and it sort of references my practice of roaming through art history, architecture, materials. So it's this idea of appropriation. The entrance was sort of the initial thought of the show. So the shape's taken from a Chinese temple, and they had circular doors of these sort of entrances that which invoked like open-mindedness. So when people go to meditate, they would pass through this threshold and it would be complete open-mindedness. So I kind of wanted the viewers to go into the space and not really know a lot of what I feel about the work and what I want people to interpret, but to be open-minded and take what they want from it. So make the links between the works and find the sort of the colour spectrum and see how it's hung and sort of look at these languages. The colour spectrum sort of links around the whole show and references the strata of wax that's used in the hands, sort of layers of colour and layer of material, which is sort of the layering of history and roaming and these sort of things that you discover. So it also links to Rome and these hands that I've produced for the show, and they're sort of taken from Italian hand gestures, which is kind of like a lost language in a way. Non-verbal communication. So all these things act as like a link of certain series of works through this non-describing of them, purely through sort of visuals and colour. The column is a giant column made out of polystyrene, sand and paint. It's an endless column which references both architecture and art history. So I've created it in reference to Constantine Brancusi, who made an endless column. So this column connects all of the artworks through the colour spectrum, so it goes from red all the way down to violet to the floor. It's endless in the sense that where it stops on the floor and the ceiling is where the eye stops seeing colour, then it goes into ultraviolet and infrared. The architecture links to the title of When in Rome. Sort of these Roman columns in their title are these great things of wealth and power and religion. The gherkin is called "To Sleep Perchance to Dream," which is a Shakespeare quote from Hamlet. But the idea of the sort of the deadpan title and the big shiny looking gherkin was the fact that it was kind of the unsung hero, and it's on top of this podium or this sort of architectural ziggurat that it's won. It's like beating the hot dog to the finish, and it's the winner in a sense. The shape of it kind of references again artists such as like Franz West and Henry Moore, these big forms that they make, and they sit on top of these podiums and look quite grand. Where this was just like the gherkin goes under the radar, but still it's pretty great. In my studio I make a lot of components. There's a lot of little things that I potter away and make and come back to in weeks' time or months' time. And they sometimes just sort of connect somehow in my studio, because my studio is quite a cluttered place compared to like a white cube gallery space. And these things just kind of build upon each other, and then writing down sort of titles, it triggers thoughts and then they sort of like link together. Certain works that I make, I appropriate found objects, so sort of rugs and Venetian blinds and broom handles and all these things that you use and sort of overlook. And I've just tried to sort of recreate them using different materials and different approaches to what they are and what they can be. So some of them ended up as paintings or sculptures by using materials such as like rubber and resin, just to create these like new imaginations and give them a new sort of personality. There is an overlap of sort of motifs that keep jumping up in certain series of works. So there's paintings of chairs that I do quite a lot. The chair painting in the show is called Steel Toe Cap, and it's sort of a pun on the word of steel toe cap. The painting is of Van Gogh's famous chair. Van Gogh was a Dutch artist, and the name for chair in Dutch is stil, S-T-O-E-L. So it's kind of a pun on the word of it's it's a chair, but it's still got the cap on the painting. And it's kind of like a weird layered painting that became quite ghostly, and as if the chair has been removed from the painting, but it's this echo of what it used to be, but with the sort of physicality of a hat being placed on the painting, but not on the chair because the chair's not there. So this idea of like an artist studio that, well, in my studio I don't really have any chairs, apart from this one, which is from a drum kit, because I feel like chairs are like a weird thing to sit back and reflect and sometimes procrastinate. Where reflection is good, I kind of like to keep a fast energy with my work and just keep layering it and making stuff and seeing what happens. The materials that I use in the found objects have links with the sort of interior and exterior, so the found objects and the created objects have this sort of link between architecture and internal design. So the rugs used are kind of these weird 80s prints that have layered over so you can almost not see them. And then there's the Venetian blind with the lucky cat on, which is then using another interior product. And I kind of like how people can see the thing in a different light. So I've painted a lucky cat onto a found Venetian blind. It's been motorized so it waves you going out. So the idea of a lucky cat is that in sort of Asia they would put them in their shop windows to invite people in and to bring in good luck. Whereas this is more of an exit vehicle of people, a good luck to working out what it's about.